Hey everyone, it's Julianne Meyer, your host of Own Your Wellness, and I'm excited to be back again as always. Anyway, today I have a very special guest, the King of Kindness, somebody that I actually adore. He is just an amazing human being. His name is Brad Aronson, and he wrote an amazing book called HumanKind. If you don't have your copy yet, you need to. But let's bring him on. Hey Brad, how are you?
Hey, Julianne, I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you again. For those of you who don't know, I actually had the opportunity of interviewing Brad before on my not wellness, my joyful summit over the summer. So it's good to see you again.
Great to see you as well.
So I have read your book. My boyfriend's read your book. I've given your book to other people, but not a lot of people. Oh, well, I shouldn't say not a lot of people. I'm not sure how many people know who you are. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about who you are and what sparked the book.
So, I'm a dad. My wife and I have an 11-year-old son, very engaged. I love to coach his sport teams, and hopefully now with COVID coming to an end in some sense, we'll be playing sports again and being outside. I love to invent fun games. Right now, our new indoor game is Dudley Ball, which is a version of indoor football and basketball combined. And I love writing, and that was one of one of my passions that led to writing this book. I teach 18 to 25-year-old young entrepreneurs, and just try to have as much fun as I can. As far as your question related to the book, so I had two inspirations for my book. The first was I attended the high school graduation of a mentee of mine, and she went to Girard College, which, even though it's called Girard College, it is actually a high school. And it was an incredible graduation. I sat next to a 70-something-year-old man on one side, and he told me he has come down to this graduation every year since he graduated because the school changed his life, and he wants to be there to support the new graduates. And the school actually has their own song. And when it came time to sing the song during the ceremony, I mean, this guy was so proud. He stood up. He was belting it out. On the other side of me, I had a woman who was in tears, and she said she thought that her daughter would either be dead or in jail, and here she was graduating. And then the commencement speaker is really excited, and he's telling us, this is amazing. These young people are from areas of Philadelphia where it's expected that many of them won't graduate high school, and very few, if any, will go on to college. Yet every single graduating senior in this school had been accepted to college. And he said it was amazing, and you won't see it in the news tomorrow because so often the news misses those good stories. So, of course, the next day I wake up and decide I'm going to check every news outlet. So I get the newspaper, I go online, and there was nothing about Girard's graduation in there. It was so disappointing. And I thought, if I want to see these types of good news stories out there, I should put them out there. And I had been blogging because I was working on a business book, and I was blogging about stuff related to the book. And I decided to start blogging about people and organizations that inspired me. Then fast forward 6 months from then, my wife had a swollen lymph node and went to the doctor, and the doctor said, we need to do some tests. And after the test, the physician said, you have leukemia. You need to go to the hospital immediately. If you're lucky, you'll be in the hospital for 30 days. And then after that, you have about 2.5 years of outpatient chemotherapy, which is going to the hospital for 3 to 5 hours of chemo, 3 to 5 times a week. So, and I should say, luckily, Mia made it through all the treatment. She's healthy. Everything is great. So at that point, she finishes her hospital treatment of 30 days. We're going back for regular chemo, and it's a few months in, and the nurses say, you should go to this conference for young cancer patients and their caregivers. And we didn't want to go. We're in the hospital every day for treatment. We didn't want to spend a weekend talking about cancer. But anyone who's been through treatment, you know the nurses are absolutely incredible. You get through treatment because of the nurses. And we decided if they thought we should go, we should go. And when we were there was a woman who had been through the same treatment Mia had been through. And she said, if you've got 2.5 years of treatment ahead of you, you need a project. A project
Mhm.
gives you something to do, a distraction, and a focus for the hours and hours you're in the hospital. So that night at dinner, we're talking about, all right, we should get a project in place. And our son Jack is 5 at the time, and he doesn't really know exactly what's going on, but he knows we're all choosing projects. So Mia decides she's going to write in her journal or draw a little picture every day. Jack decides he's going to play 200 days of wiffle ball in a row. So we become the United States Postal Service of wiffle ball. Rain, sleet, or snow, we're outside. He loves the Philadelphia Phillies. He's wearing his Phillies hat. He's got wristbands. He has a little necklace with a Phillies baseball on it, jersey, socks. And the Phillies had their best season in history, winning 200 games straight against whatever team I was that was destroyed that day. And my project was to write about all the small acts of kindness that people did for us that helped us get through that time. So I had always been a volunteer. I had always been helping people. And I was really bad at accepting help. I had no idea how to ask for help. People came out of the woodwork and were like, what can I do for you? And I was so tired. I said, I'll get back to you. I don't know. We were lucky. No one waited. They just stood up and started doing things. And the small acts of kindness, they did changed our lives. So I started writing about this. And I didn't realize it, but it had this impact on me where my mindset beforehand was a little bit, why us? So we went to all these doctor's appointments and the doctors would say, wow, you're in really good shape. And you're at an age where it's unusual that you'd have this type of leukemia. It's very surprising. So you start thinking, like, why us? Like, does our son have to have his mom be ill and not around? And why does she have to go through this treatment? And as I was writing about all the nice things people did for us, my mindset shifted a little bit. And I started thinking, we're pretty lucky. We've got all these people in our lives and they're doing stuff for us. Don't get me wrong. There were still days where I thought, why us? And I don't think that was an experience I'd ever want to have. Like if I had an option, I would totally skip it. Some people say, it's life changing. They get so much out of it. I didn't want to be there, but it changed my mindset. And once I was finished writing about the people who helped us, I started writing about other people's stories where a seemingly trivial act of kindness completely transforms someone's life or has a ripple effect impacting thousands and thousands of lives. And once I had all this together, it was years later of kind of working on it. It wound up becoming the book that is HumanKind.
I love this book. I mean, talk about, okay, so I don't know if I said this to the audience before, but I stopped watching the news completely just because there's nothing I can do about any of that stuff going on anyway. So why am I bringing myself down? That is no use to anybody around me. So I love what you created. And I just think it's so amazing. And I know I've told you this privately, but when my boyfriend was looking for a book to read while he was at my place, and I said, here, read this. And he's like, that's surprisingly good. And I'm like, I don't know that that's really a compliment, but because he doesn't usually like the same kind of things that I like, but even, it's just universal is what I'm getting at. And it's uplifting. And now, even though he's read it, he'll go every once in a while and read through it himself, just like a story here or there. So it's pretty amazing that you did this. And I love that idea of, I love that, first of all, you admitted, like, why us? Because I don't know any human being who wouldn't feel that way. But the fact that you were able to change your perspective and your attitude towards it does make it a little bit easier to work through while you're going through that. So that's a pretty big deal. So I'm assuming that since you wrote the book, you learned something or learned things while you were writing it. Would you love to share some of that?
Absolutely. So, a few things that I learned, many of the stories where this tiny act of kindness completely transformed someone's life, I would ask them, like, did you go back and tell this person? And the hero of the story would say, I didn't realize at the time that was going to change my whole life. Yeah. I have no idea who it was, like how to find that person. So, there's the story of the man where one single conversation changed his whole life. He didn't realize at the time the influence of that conversation. And by the time he did, it was too late to find that person. And there's the kid who got a gift through one of these Secret Santa programs, and that changed his kid's life. And he went on to help thousands and thousands of other kids. the gift giver will never know. So I think one thing is people have to be comfortable with that. When we do these acts of kindness, we don't know the impact it'll have. Something else that I'd say is we have such power to change people's lives. And a lot of times it seems paralyzing. You were saying you don't watch the news. I don't like the news either. And when I talk to folks, they say, how can I make a difference? There's so many people who are suffering. Everything is so horrible. But when you talk to people who are going through a rough time, the simple act of getting a note changes everything for them. And I remember at one point during Mia's treatment, we got a note from someone and it said, "Hey, I'm so-and-so. My daughter's in your son's class. I just want to let you know there's another parent in your corner." And it brought us to tears because it was just thoughtful, and you need that to keep going. When I talked to people, they said, when people saw me and I knew they saw me, it made such a difference. And often we feel like it's awkward. So we know who's going through a rough time, but maybe we think they don't want to talk to anyone, or what are we going to say? And I don't want to make it difficult for them. Consistently across the board, I heard they wanted someone to reach out. And reaching out is as easy as sending a note saying, "I'm thinking about you and I love you." And we all have that power, so we can make a huge difference.
I'm sorry. I just want to interject really quickly. There's a story, and I can't remember exactly how it goes, but basically the point is, and it's not a story, but it's that, you're going to plant a tree that you won't ever sit under the shade of. So you don't know, like you said, these acts of kindness, you're planting seeds. It's what you're doing. So I love that. But I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're totally right. Because you're not doing it to see the impact. You're doing it to make a difference. And there's this side effect, though, that it also makes you feel better and it gives you energy, which isn't the reason we're doing it, but that's something huge that we get out of it. Something else my wife and I saw, kind of when I was telling you, I was bad at accepting help, and people would say, "What can I do?" And we needed people to actually just do things. And I heard that from lots of people. That said, when I was going through a rough time, it was the people who just did something because I was too caught up in I don't know. And I remember before we were in that situation, I would tell friends when they're going through a rough time, like, "Let me know what I could do." And I learned I just need to do something. I need to be like, "I'm coming over your house and I'm cleaning your toilets," or "I'm shoveling your driveway," or, "You know what? I'm taking your kids and I'm taking them to the zoo today." And that is really helpful. And it's interesting also that so many of the people who I was lucky enough to write about for the book, they're impacting thousands and thousands of other people. And it was a small act of kindness that changed their lives, and they desired to pay that back, which is interesting that it's these chains that happen.
That's beautiful. I never even thought about it like that, but it's true. I always want to, pay it forward, give it, to anybody else when I've been given those acts of kindness. I totally appreciate that. You said that. The other thing I want to mention too, or reiterate is, the whole, what can I do? I've fallen into that trap so many times. But the fact of the matter is, when you are going through something, you don't have what I like to call the bandwidth, the brain power to sit there and think about what you can do for me. And it's like, I'm the one that's okay in that situation. So why don't I put in the extra effort? And, it's only 2 more seconds. I mean, I understand exactly why people say anything, because they really want to do whatever's best for that person. But like you said, just to jump in there and do something, it doesn't matter if it's the right thing. It's something.
And when someone asks you to do something, make it seem easy. It was so great when I'd call and say, I remember one point, I wasn't going to make it on school on time to pick up our son because we were just in chaos. There was so much going on. And I called one of my wife's friends and I said, "I'm really sorry. I know school lets out in 5 minutes. There's no way I can make it on time. Would you mind picking up Jack?" And she said, "I would love to. Like, thanks for calling me." So I know this wasn't easy or convenient, but her response just let me breathe a sigh of relief. And I think it's important if we want to help someone, even if it's difficult, don't tell them. Just say, "I'm so happy that you asked." And then we'll go and do that.
Oh, that's a beautiful part too, because I don't think we think about that, as givers, like, It's an unconscious, like, yeah, I can make that work, and then the person that's asking is like, oh, never mind.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, then it's guilt free. I love that. That's a really, really good tip. What other tips would you give, or ways that people can make a small difference?
I mean, I think if we decide every day that we're going to look for a chance to make someone's day, we all
Mhm.
become our own superheroes. And something that's easy to do is every day just send a note to someone that we appreciate. So it could
Mhm.
be, hey, Terry, thanks so much for helping Jack with his homework. He's been having a lot of trouble with online school, and you took some extra time, and you're an amazing teacher. I appreciate that. And or just texting someone, thanks for being a great friend. I was thinking
Mhm.
about you. I just want to let you know. But every day we can compliment one person, and it makes that person's day. And also it makes us happier because over time we just start seeing more opportunities because we're looking for them. Oh, I could compliment that person and that person. And that trains our brain to be more positive, which also research shows makes us happier people.
Absolutely. The reticular activating system.
Right. And something else I learned from the book is that we can make our own fun.
Yes,
So I can share a couple stories if you want.
I would
So
love that.
some of my favorites are from Ronald McDonald Camp. So this is a
Oh,
camp for kids with cancer and their siblings. And I was a counselor here for a few years. And when you're a kid with cancer, taking your medicine is not fun. It makes your
no.
hair fall out, you feel nauseous, you feel sick. So kids don't want to take their medicine. And it's
Mhm.
not similar to adults, where adults we rationalize, okay, we know this is going to make us better. We're going to take it. Kids, it's I know this sucks and I'm going to feel really bad after it. And at
Mhm.
night, I would take my campers up to the wellness center to get their medicine. And they made it fun. So you go up there and the center's dark and there's this giant disco ball and it's flashing lights. And they say, you can't have your medicine until you dance. And they're blasting music and the kids are dancing for their medicine. And suddenly getting your medicine at night became fun. And it's
Uh-huh.
because the staff asked, why not?
Mhm.
And I remember thinking, I need to start more often, look at everything that's not fun in our house and ask why not. And this is a simple thing, but our son hated making his bed. He just hated it.
Mhm.
And it was these battles because that was his job. And I said, you know what? You're a superhero. You need to make your sheet into a cape, run all the way down the hall and run into your room and dive on the bed. And then next you do it with your blanket. And suddenly making his bed became fun because instead of it being this battle, I was thinking, how can I turn it into a game?
Yep.
And then another Ronald McDonald story that I love is my first year. When you get to camp, the counselors get there early. So I'm unpacking my stuff, and my co-counselor Jim is unpacking his stuff, and he brought a leaf blower. And I'm thinking, all right, maybe he's really into being clean and he wants to leaf blow out the bunk or something. I say, Jim, what's the leaf blower for? He says, well, I used to wake up the kids and they'd love it. And I thought, oh my goodness, I can't wait to see this. So on the first day of camp, he says to all of our campers, all right, if you guys don't get out of bed, I'm going to wake you up with a leaf blower. And everyone's silent because the campers don't know what to make of it. And there's a tradition where we wake everyone up early. We
Mhm.
take them up to the pool and you jump in. It's a polar bear swim because it's cold out and you're jumping in the water. Some kids love it. Some kids don't like it. They don't want to get out of bed. They don't want to jump in the water.
Mhm.
By the end of that week of camp, no kid would get out of bed because they all wanted to be leaf blown. It was so much fun. And then when we went up to the pool, everyone was laughing and they were in a good mood. And instead of there being this tension with some of the campers, Jim had made it really fun. And in fact, when I got home from camp, I told our son about it, and Jack insisted I wake him up with the leaf blower. So we worked it into our morning routine as well. And
I love that.
it's great. And kids are the best at doing that. Gabriel, do you want me to? I could share this story about Gabriel and his
Yeah.
day of kindness. So Gabriel, at 6 years old, his mom Natasha was putting him to bed, and she said, Gabriel, I know that you're healthy and everything is great, but November 3rd is a sad day for me. And if I'm sad, don't worry. It's just a sad day. And it was a sad day for her because it's the day he was diagnosed with an illness, and it had taken, he had 2.5 years of really tough treatment to get through it. So she was going to be sad. And Gabriel said, well, Mom, why can't we make it a light day? And she said, what do you mean? I'm going to take out my video camera. You can tell me what you mean. And Gabriel said, well, we could make it like Secret Santa Day. And in their family, when Gabriel was going through treatment at Christmas, someone left gifts on their porch for he and his sister. And it just said, from Secret Santa. And Natasha had put the note on their refrigerator. And almost every day they talked about it and how nice those people were. And then they decided to be Secret Santas. So Mom and Grandma and Gabriel would drive around to the people they had chosen and sneak little gifts onto their porch and scamper away. And he was saying, why can't we do that and turn a bad day into a light day? So I'd like all of our family to do something nice, and we're going to make this a good day. So she emails it out to their family, and someone emails back and says, can you set up this little Facebook page and we could email it and we could post to Facebook what we've done? And she said, sure. And if Gabriel starts going nuts, oh my goodness, it's on Facebook. How many people are going to do it? We're going to get thousands. And Natasha says, we want to get 12 people to do it. Because a lot of people, when they do acts of kindness, they don't tell other people. And we just shared it with our family. And when they launched it, they told everyone it's going to be November 3rd. Please give people a little card if you do an act of kindness explaining Gabriel's Day of Kindness with a link to the website. And it rolled out. And of course, it went across the US. It started in Wisconsin, went to Florida, hit all 50 states, wound up hitting 56 countries that first year with people doing these small acts of kindness. So Gabriel and his family went to the hospital where he was treated and brought gifts for the kids who were in the hospital and donuts for the physicians. They went to a bank that was really helpful to them and dropped off at the bank gifts for the bankers. They put together little packages for folks who were homeless and did all these good deeds. And of course, all these good deeds are pouring into their website. And it's really exciting. Gabriel says, Mom, can we do this again tomorrow? And she says, no, we can't do it tomorrow. This is too much work. He says, can we do it next year? So every year they've been doing this Day of Kindness, which is now a global. So you can look up Gabriel's Day of Kindness. It's a global effort. And it's because he said, why can't we make it a light day? And Natasha says it is a day of light now. And she's also heard from 7 families that decided to create their own days of kindness for their kids' diagnosis day. So this has spread even further. And she says they get hundreds of emails from people talking about how the acts of kindness that someone did for them made such a difference. All because Gabriel said, why do we have to accept this the way it is?
Oh, I love that. That is so inspiring. And, you know, kids are our biggest teachers. And, you know, they just, I mean, because why not? And I love the idea of, you know, okay, why is this not fun for me? I mean, I love the idea with your son and the cape. So for me, it's like, okay, maybe I don't like something. Well, why not? Why not make it fun? Why do I have to endure anything? All it takes is a change of perception anyway. Oh, you've inspired me. I love that, especially about Gabriel. That's so, yeah.
Thank you.
I'm glad you decided to share that with the audience because, you know, it was just one little conversation, one little comment, and it's literally changed the world. So who knows? Like you said, you know, or one conversation that you have with somebody that's uplifting and it totally changes the trajectory of their life. And it doesn't even have to be somebody that you know. It could just be a perfect stranger. So I love that. Is there going to be a follow-up book with this or?
I don't know. I'd like to write other books as well.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And about kindness. I don't know if it'll be a follow-up or a companion type book. And
ooh, I love it. Yeah.
So I'm excited. I can't wait to start writing again. Right now, I am in kind of trying to get the word out about the book and writing a little bit here or there, but soon, hopefully full tilt into writing.
Exactly. So I know that I met you via Amazon. So I know that your book is available on Amazon, but also this is your website, correct? And so people can reach out to you through there. And don't you have a Facebook group as well?
Yeah, so you could also, through my website, you could find my Facebook page and connect with me there if you'd like.
I love that. So we do need to go to commercial break. So we'll be right back in just a moment, okay? Isn't he amazing? Oh my goodness, I love Brad. Any chance I get to have a conversation with him, I'm always excited to have it. But I do, before we go to commercial break, as usual, I do want to thank everybody who's watching us live. Hello, hello. And of course, you can catch us on a replay, but thank you so much for joining us. And we will be right back after these commercials.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Gotta love technical difficulties. Aren't they so much fun? Anyway, showing myself a little grace here. Real quick, though, I was just realizing that in one of those commercials, the girl twirling around underneath the bridge, I've actually literally been there. So that's kind of cool. But anyway, I'm going to bring back Brad because he's awesome. And that's why we're here. Hey, Brad, how are you? I'm like, oh, that's fun. Anyway, so glad to have you here today. As always, it's a pleasure to speak with you and just your words of wisdom. So I know that parts of, being kind to yourself or being kind to others is being kind to yourself. So, what sort of things have you changed in your own life so that you're kinder to you in order to be able to help others?
So, in being kinder to myself,
Mhm.
I try to be really careful about what I what my diet is outside
Mhm.
of food. So I find that if I hang around people who are really negative and are always seeing the negative, it makes me feel bad. And if I watch too much of the news or read too much of the news, it makes me feel bad. So I make an effort to be around positive people and positive information. I also meditate very short, 10 minutes a day
Mhm.
at the beginning of the day. And part of my meditation practice is right when I start, I think of a goal that I have.
Mm.
And uh, the goal will be I'll repeat it to myself for a year and then maybe move on to another one. So for example, little things were bothering me at one point. And I just kept at the beginning of my meditation look at everything I was so lucky to have and say these little things don't matter. I'm going to take a deep breath and step back. And I found that after months of doing that, I would just all of a sudden be like, oh my goodness, this is a little thing. It doesn't matter. Somehow it just made it click in my mind. And I don't know if it'll work for other people, but it's worth trying. It definitely worked for me. And then trying to own my schedule. So there's so many things that we could do, and making sure that
Mhm.
some time, like time that I want to spend with my wife, with our son, it's sacred time, and I'm going to give myself that opportunity to really own my calendar instead of running
Mhm.
around crazy like I could otherwise be doing.
Yeah, it's easy to do that too, because I know a lot of people tend to think of like living by your calendar as restrictive, but it actually creates that time that you can have that sacred with your family, for example. And I didn't understand that at first, but for a long time, I really felt like if something was important to me, it would just magically happen and it would just magically get done. And, why wouldn't it? Because it's important to me. But it doesn't usually work that way, so I love that you actually, own your calendar because then it doesn't own you. Yeah. And I love that. Oh my gosh, and the 10 minutes a day, that's way better. I know you know this, but I it's way better to do that than once even a month for an hour or once a week for an hour because it's consistent, it's daily. So that's way more important than once in a while.
I, I I agree, and I think something else I'm just remembering now that I do. I
Mhm.
love writing thank you notes. If I take the time to write a really meaningful thank you note, for whatever reason, it makes me feel so much better.
Mhm.
That is part of my own kindness routine as well.
I love that. You just made me think of that. Actually, it's kind of funny. My boyfriend's very sweet, and just for no reason, I decided to send him a card through the mail and just to say I was thinking about him. I see him almost every day, but it was such a nice surprise. So thank you notes. People forget about how important those are, especially in the age of electronics. But I love that. Just that old fashioned through the mail. It's nothing better. And it only
Yes.
takes a few minutes. So why not? I love that. So, you touched on the thing about the diet of not just food, but like what you ingest, because it does matter, what TV shows you're watching or who you're around. So that's a very important distinction because I don't think a lot of people really realize that. And I just want to comment about how when you get stuck in a negative cycle or kind of like the hamster wheel, it's hard to get off. So then you start creating that and it's easier and easier to not be in the best of moods. So I really appreciate that you were able to make it easier for yourself to get out of those negative moods that come along. There anything special that you do when things aren't going your way and you kind of just like, okay, I need to reset?
So for myself, I love being in nature. If if
Yes.
if things are really tough, I go out into the woods, pitch a tent,
Mhm.
and go camping. And luckily, our son loves camping, so we go out there, we pitch a tent, we build a fire, we roast marshmallows, and you can't really, for me, I'm just not thinking about stress or anything else when I'm out there in nature. Walks also help. And then I have certain people who are just, they always make me smile, and I'll call them on the phone. I don't even know if I've told them, but it's my, all right, having a rough day. I know if I call this person, they'll say something that'll make me smile and that I'll appreciate. So those are ways that I try to, when I'm feeling down, get out of that mood and lift myself up.
I love that. So there's something that you touched on before that I want to get into a little bit. And it was that you invent fun things. And one of them, did you call it Dudley Ball?
Yes, Dudley Ball.
Can you explain that? Because that sounds like fun.
All right. So Dudley Ball is, we play it in Jack's room.
Mm-hmm.
He's on his bed, and I throw him this little football, and he has to get that football into the Nerf basketball hoop before I tackle him. And the only rule, there's one main rule in Dudley Ball, and that's if you decide to kick it on 4th down, you have to wear these insane glasses. They come out to here. They're like giant, crazy looking, as the kicker. And then since then, we've invented some other rules, such as there has to be a tackle every play, and things that are just fun for this game. Yeah. And it's called Dudley Ball because my professional wrestling name in our house is Dudley the Destroyer.
I love that. So my question then for you is, because not everybody has kids, but does he help you with these games, like inventing them, or is it sort of your idea and then he builds on it?
It's actually more his idea. So
I love that.
I love doing crazy stuff, and he'll be like, all right, here's the game, Dad. I'm going to get the ball in the hoop and you got to stop me. And then it just evolves after we've played it for a couple of weeks and rules start coming into play. Or we played what we call Noodle Ball. You go to the dollar store in our area and you can get pool noodles. So we don't have a pool, but we have lots of pool noodles. And you use them as hockey sticks to try to get a balloon into one end of the hall. And of course, as you're doing it, you whack each other with the hockey sticks, and there's all sorts of rules. But kids are so much more, I find kids are so much more creative than I am. I shouldn't speak for everybody, I speak for myself. And they just, like, all the kids I hang out with, they always have ideas about how to make things fun and just think about things differently. And that's led to a lot of these wild and exciting games.
Well, I love that, because I always considered myself a creative person. And then I hear about Dudley Ball and things like this. And I'm like, why am I still thinking so inside the box? I think I would prefer to be more childlike in my thinking, not childish, just childlike. I love that. So there was a story that I don't know why I want you to share it, but about, I think it was Cheetos. Was it the Cheetos? And your wife in the hospital?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. If you wouldn't mind sharing that story, because it's just, I thought it was really cool.
Absolutely. So when you're going through chemotherapy, you can have food cravings. And my wife, who was usually a very healthy eater, was craving processed cheese products. And she had a Caring Bridge site. And this was a way that instead of everyone calling us to see how it was going, we could kind of post online, and people with the password could see and be updated. And we just posted how this is so funny. Mia has this cravings for processed cheese food, because everyone who knows her would think, oh my goodness. And my wife was a professional cook, so she loves cooking. She cooks healthy. And our friend John went out and bought every little processed cheese snack you could have, things we never heard of, and showed up at the hospital and said, we're going to do a taste test. And it was awesome. It was a distraction from being in the hospital where you're with her treatment. She's hooked up IV to her. It's hooked up to her. You're sick and everything around you reminds you of that. But here we are having this taste test of crazy foods. And he made it fun and kind of took that day and changed it. And it's part of what we were talking about at the beginning. When you know someone's going through a hard time, sometimes you're afraid to reach out to them because you don't know what to say. In our case, you didn't have to say anything. We weren't looking to talk about cancer. We were just looking to be distracted. And we were friends with people because of who they were, and them just being themselves made all the difference. As in the example of our friend John, who came with all the crazy cheese doodles and or jalapeno combos and all sorts of things that we loved.
Oh, that's so much fun. And it's something that you touched on is that you had a website, correct? So I think that that's a good idea for people who aren't feeling well, so that they don't have to go through and keep on reiterating over and over and over about what's going on with them, and whether it's good or bad, because who wants to think about being ill all of the time? I think that's a beautiful idea for those people who aren't feeling well, because there are a few viewers who are regular viewers who do have cancer. So that's one of the particular reasons why I thought maybe you would be a fantastic guest in particular to have on, because you've walked through this, not personally, but personally. So, it's your family, it affects you. So I love that. And the other thing too is, how you just said, like, you don't know what to say. It's okay to be uncomfortable. And just being normal is kind of nice, because you don't always want to think about it, like you said. What are some other tips you would give to people who are trying to help friends or family that are walking through difficult times?
So some tips that I would suggest are, one, when you're talking to them, often we just say, how you doing? If you know they're doing pretty badly, just remind yourself not to say that. It's so easy to forget because it's automatic, but saying how you're doing leaves someone in a position of, do I lie and say fine, or do I say it sucks? Instead, greet someone by saying, it's great to see you. It's so great to hear your voice. And that it's a small thing, but that's really important. And don't worry if you don't know what to say. I've volunteered a lot with young people who have been through traumatic situations. And someone had advised me, when someone shares something with you and you don't know what to say, you just say, thank you so much for sharing. And I found that when I say that, people are just happy. They're like, oh, I'm so happy you listened. So you could always say, thank you for sharing. You can give them a hug, but be there. And also, being there long-term is important. What I heard when I interviewed people for the book, and what we saw, when you're initially diagnosed with something, or go through a divorce, or have someone in your family die, there's this outpouring of support. But 6 months, 12 months later, you're still going through that. And the support often isn't there. In our case, my aunt must have put a reminder on her calendar. Every 2 weeks, we got a letter from her, or actually probably every week we got a letter from her, just talking about what was going on in her life, and corny jokes and stuff that let us know she was thinking about us. And we had other friends, the same thing. They must have set reminders in their calendars. And we just get notes or updates, or, hey, here's a magazine article we thought you'd like. And I think that support on a regular basis is really important. And as we talked about already, just doing things, pick out something and just do it. And you could do it in a way that makes it easy. So we had a neighbor who would call and say, I'm going to Trader Joe's today. What can I pick up for you? She made it easy. If she said, can I get groceries for you? Sure, here's what we need. But if she's saying, I'm going to Trader Joe's, what can I get for you? It's easy. She's already going. We had neighbors who called and said, we made a ton of chicken soup tonight. We'd like to bring some over. So we're not going to say no. We're going to be excited. But if they called and said, hey, can we make something for you? I don't know what to make for me. It's just hard. And other friends who just showed up with lasagna, and people just showing up made a huge difference.
Well, besides, when you're going through stuff, you have decision fatigue. It's like, not one more thing. Please don't add something else to my plate. I'm just trying to remember to breathe right now. So I love that. Oh, those are really good they're little things, but they make such a huge difference. And I love that. Thank you for sharing. Or even like you said, it's so good to see you. Because nobody wants this. How are you? You know how they're doing.
Right. And you know what?
It's second nature.
Right. It's automatic. We're not even thinking about it. And what you just said reminded me of something else. Once when I was in the waiting room for Mia's treatment, there was an older woman walking, and she was having some trouble walking. And the nurse went up to her and said, oh, can I walk with you? And the woman said, yeah. And she grabbed her arm and helped her walk. She didn't say, can I help you walk? And
Mhm.
it just made me think about how we word things. If someone's going for treatment, I don't have to say, do you want me to take you to treatment? Or would you like,
Mhm.
I could just say, I'd love to join you for treatment. Can I join you? And
Yeah.
make it just easier. That wording that nurse Sharon did, like, I just won't forget it. It was beautiful. And I thought that's such a good way to position helping people.
It is. And like you said, it's a small change in the wording, but oh my goodness, that makes such a difference because now it doesn't feel like an imposition to the person. Like by saying, I mean, it is. It's like, well, it's not. I'm saying, let me start over because obviously my words are leaving me. By saying, can I take you, is different. It's kind of like you don't really want to, as opposed to, may I join you? I'll drive. Or I'm headed this way. May I join you?
Right. And like, I'd love to go with you and keep you
Yeah,
company, which,
exactly. I'd love to go.
but keeping in mind that, like, these are better ways to word things, but it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. Like, you could word it horribly. If you're doing something, it will make a huge difference. Even uh, uh, doing anything shows love and will be appreciated and help that person get through the day or a couple days or even a week.
So my question for you is, in the beginning, did you find it hard to accept these acts of kindness, or was it just thank you, thank you, thank you?
Both. At first, I had trouble accepting it. As I said,
Mhm.
I wasn't good at it. And
Yeah.
I just felt as though I was in positioning people, that all these people
Mhm.
had to go out of their way. I mean, I had the biggest, I remember I went to the school and dropped off my list of people who might pick up our son. And the woman at the front desk was like, this is the longest list I've ever seen. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, I'm going to be in the hospital every day and I just need a big list because I don't know if I'll be able to make it.
Mhm.
And all these people, I just felt, oh my gosh, they're all going out of their way for me. I'm being a pain. And then someone, I can't remember who, because that time is a bit of a blur, said to
Mhm.
me, you need to let people help you. They want to. This is your way of being kind to them. You were a helper to people and you enjoyed it when they let you do kindness. And I think it's important for us to remember when we're in these positions,
Mhm.
people want to be helpful, and by allowing them to be helpful, we're also giving back to them because of that good feeling of being able to help a friend or help someone else.
Exactly. And that's something that I think is really important for those people who need to be willing to accept that help. I have a friend, he says, give without restrictions and receive without resistance. And that's one of my mantras now because it's sometimes, especially women, can't even take a compliment without qualifying it. Oh, this old thing, or oh no, well, this is what's wrong, or yeah, no. So I wanted to make sure we touched on that because there, like I said, there are people who are watching and they do need to be willing to accept, myself included, but it's hard to remember that sometimes. You're doing it as much for the other person as you are for yourself. And why not allow them to be kind?
Right.
I mean, that's your way of being kind back, like you said. And I love that. I'm so glad somebody said that to you
Me
because
too.
we probably wouldn't have your book otherwise. There we go. Oh, goodness. Oh, we're running low on time, but I would just love if you would share one of your biggest takeaways from your experience with your wife and, you know, changing your perspective. Just what's one of your biggest takeaways?
So I'll say a few. I don't
Mhm.
know that any of them are huge, but they were big to me.
Mhm.
One was that the little things make such a huge difference. I never realized that an email from someone just saying, I'm thinking about you,
Mhm.
is so impactful when you're going through that stressful time. So I fully realized how incredibly powerful a small act could be. And then in terms of that, how powerful I could be in helping others the way people help me. Also, I realized just how much I took for granted. We
Mhm.
were living our lives just planning for the future. You don't think that you're going to be that person, the person you see on a TV news program or you read about in a magazine. It's not you. And then suddenly it
Mhm.
is. And it's like, holy cow, we do so many things that we don't want to do because it's going to pay off years from now. And
Mhm.
it's really important to think about what we want to do now because we don't know how much time we're guaranteed. And for us, we just, after that experience, there were tons of things that we just said, we're not doing it anymore. And we're comfortable that maybe people will be unhappy, but like there's things we just don't want to do. And we
Mhm.
don't know. We learned really fast that we didn't know. We don't have control over our lives. And of course, a few years afterwards, that starts slipping away and you have to
Of
remind yourself
course.
once again, you get back into that mode of, all right, we got tons of time. But I
Mhm.
think that was really big learning for us of really questioning how we were spending our time today, and not all of it should be spent for some future goal because we don't know.
I think that that is such a beautiful thing, a reminder, because not that you shouldn't plan for your future, but you're living right now and nothing is guaranteed. So if you're spending your days in a job you absolutely hate, you might want to consider changing it or changing your perspective because you don't know at the end of your life, which could be literally the next day. Is that how you wanted to spend it? I love that. Unfortunately, traumatic things happen that will remind us of, the fact that life is finite. But I really do appreciate when other people say that because to me, it's always been a big thing. I was always a weird little kid where I would tell my mom, Mom, I just want to make sure that you know that I love you. In case anything happens, I want to make sure that you know. And I've always been like that. And I was like, I don't want, and then she actually did end up passing away years later. But the thing is it was okay because I knew she knew. So there was nothing left unsaid. So even if she was angry with me when she passed away, it wouldn't have mattered because she knew. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I mean, there's a quote in the book, and I can't remember it exactly. I should, since I wrote this book, but it's something along the lines of, if you had only 24 hours to live, who would you call? And why aren't you calling them now? To your point, if there's people we love, we should tell them. We should writing those thank you notes, making sure that it's out there is really important to us and to them.
Yeah, it is. Another one that I don't know if I got this from my dad. It probably was, but this is one of the little acts of kindness. He used to leave me little notes, and I used to leave him little notes, like love notes saying, "Hey dad, love you, have a great day," and things like that. And he used to leave me ones too. I've got like a whole stack of them that are, I saved just because they made my day. And it was literally a post-it note. So, like you said, it's all in the details. It's the small things, it's the little things that can make a difference. Um, Brad, I just want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been such a pleasure having you here. I always, always, always enjoy speaking with you because it uplifts me in a selfish way. It uplifts me because then I remember the goodness and I'm like, I gotta go back and read that book again. So thank you so much. So how people can reach you, I just want to make sure we mention that again, is through this website right here, correct?
Absolutely.
And Facebook. And then of course your book, HumanKind, can be found on Amazon as well. And I assume there's a link on your website as well. Because why
Yes.
wouldn't you have that there? And then Facebook as well. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, Brad. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me on the show. This was a lot of fun.
It was. Until next time. Oh, isn't he great? I just, like I said, he's so uplifting. And then it's fun because it makes me think about all these little things that I've done or have been done for me as well that have completely made a difference in my life. And just, we forget all the good things. It's easier to remember the bad things because we think we'll be protected from it for the next time. But honestly, why don't we focus on the good? Because then all of a sudden, that's what we start noticing more of. So thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next time.